Thank you for joining us on this edition of the show. Forward-looking countries continue to strengthen their innovation index as much as possible. My guest on the show is vested in seeing Nigeria joining the list of highly innovative countries, and he joins me to share his thoughts on how we can achieve this. This and more coming up right after now. I am Chukwemeka Agbata. Welcome to Tech Trends.
As technology changes the way we communicate, connect, create, consume, and innovate, it is democratizing access to opportunity. Education is no exception.
When a child finds it difficult solving math problems or struggles with reading or spelling, education experts consider these as signs of learning gaps. Gaps in a child's education can be very serious, especially when they involve the basics of learning. It's important to carefully fill these gaps without putting pressure on the child. In 2020, nations across the world enforced school closures induced by the COVID-19 pandemic, and this may have stunted some students' learning. Virtual classrooms became the go-to systems for schools to help bridge the widening learning gaps, and Gradely is one of the education technology platforms solving the problem.
So the problem we're trying to solve at Gradely is the problem of learning gaps, right? So when you have students take exams and fail after many years of schooling, it's usually because you have a cumulative effect of learning gaps that were not caught on time, and then those gaps kind of just compound, right? So what Gradely is doing is that we're trying to solve for that problem, because that's the problem that leads to failure. And today in Africa, 9 out of every 10 children are in school, but they are not learning, right? So in the era of the MDGs, the problem was getting children into schools. But today, the problem is that students are in schools as much as possible, but they are not learning while they're in school. And so that's the problem of quality. And to kind of solve that problem, you need to think about what is helping us to find out that these children are not learning, and then using that to solve the problem.
The platform proposes a better way for teaching and learning by delivering a personalized learning experience for students. Parents can also be involved in the process of closing the learning gaps.
What we have is school integrated, meaning that on the side of the school, we provide a learning system that allows schools to do things like, have live classes, share notes and materials, but specifically, they're able to create assessment very quickly using Gradely. We have a content library of questions that are mapped to curriculum and mapped to topics and mapped to difficulty levels, and teachers can quickly select those questions. They can also differentiate learning by focusing on some students in class or other students in class. And so we give that tool because we care about the data that comes from assessment. It helps us find where those gaps might be, right? And then on the back of that data, Gradely can then recommend daily library of content like video lessons, practice, adaptive practice, and on-demand tutors. Gradely is not just does not just provide content resources and say it's engaging, it's animated, start to watch, it's nice, it's great. It's actually more scientific than that, right? So we are working with the idea that everybody's on different learning paths, and the challenges they are facing on topic by topic levels are different. And so we are surfacing to a child what he needs to watch, not just what, not the whole library, right? So we have specific practice, video lessons, and tutors that we would then recommend and say, we need to focus on these areas that he's lagging or she's lagging in. And so that's kind of very, very unique in terms of, so that adaptivity is what we call it, is quite unique.
Gradely uses analytics and data-driven recommendations to drive the platform. It gamifies some of its learning to make it fun for the children and keep them engaged.
The data-driven recommendation that we use is because we solely depend on data. So we have enough information about your practices that you've taken on the platform already. That way we will have studied and understand where you are lagging. And our system now recommends resources that can fill in those gaps that is missing in your knowledge, like those places that it says that you're not really performing very well. Give you necessary recommendations like videos, more practice, even some of our gamification, right? It gives you some games regarding the topics you are really struggling with and more practices. And that's how we know if you have improved or not.
The web app makes it possible for schools and parents to intervene early in a student's educational trajectory and provides insight into the learning progress of each child.